College Football 25's presentation is very lackluster, to say the least. Honestly, I do think it's one of the features that they couldn't be able to put as much time into, and I predict there's going to be a lot of changes in College Football 26. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So the first big issue with College Football 25's presentation is the commentary. Now, one thing they did do right is they did give us two commentary teams. They gave us a big game crew with Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit, and then a normal broadcast crew with Chris Fowler and then Jesse Palmer and David Pollock. Now, I do think one of these crews actually did a really good job, and it's not the big game crew. It's actually the normal crew with Reese Davis and Jesse Palmer and David Pollock. Those guys, the way that they recorded their lines and the way that the conversations flow, and also the energy that Reese Davis brings on the play-by-play, is something that I really wish that Chris Fowler brought in his side of the commentary. And I think this can really be summed up into a few things. So first is Chris Fowler. This is the first time he's done a video game, I believe. So this is something that he's new. So, and also when we look at Chris Fowler as a play-by-play commentator versus Chris Fowler, the voice actor, it's actually, they're two completely different situations, because Chris Fowler is really good at analyzing and speaking out loud and reacting to things happening in real time with high energy and really just allowing people to feel excited about what's happening as it's happening. But versus a video game, that's not really how it works. Like, Chris Fowler can't just commentate over the video game and then it will just like work for all the other games that get played. You have to record specific lines for specific situations and give the right vocal inflections, the right tone, the right amount of excitement or not excitement for specific scenarios. And I think this is really where EA's direction maybe was lacking a little bit. And I will say is they did a really good job with Reese Davis, so I don't know why Reese Davis's commentary, his play-by-play, is a lot higher energy than Chris Fowler, which again, I was a little shocked to see how low energy some of his lines were. The biggest thing that really irks me is when he says touchdown. Like, he doesn't say it super loud, he just says touchdown Ohio State, touchdown Buckeyes. He just says the name, and you could tell that you could tell that this little snippet was taken from a recording session where all he's doing is just saying touchdown Buckeyes, touchdown Ohio State, touchdown Michigan. He's just saying it, line by line. And I do think that this is something that EA probably should have maybe coached him a little bit better, to be like, hey, give this crazy, touchdown call.
And on first down for the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State strikes first.
And also, I do think EA probably should have focused more on quality rather than quantity. And I think that's something that Chris Fowler was really excited about when he was talking about the commentary, because he was saying in many videos, because he was one of the most outspoken members, and you could tell he was really excited to be a part of this, is that EA was having him record lines for super hyper specific situations. Like, if you get a pick 2 in an overtime game, like, that's cool. Like, it's cool that you have like all these different options, but if the generic touchdown calls aren't that great, I'd rather have the quality. I'd rather him just say, like, have like 5 different, saying touchdown in his epic, broadcast voice, and maybe not include like maybe include the team name afterwards, like keep it a separate thing, rather than just saying touchdown Buckeyes. Like, he does that like all the time in those lines. But versus in real life, when you watch him do his calls, like, you could tell like he puts his all into it. So we all know that Chris Fowler is an excellent play-by-play commentator. Like, it's not really people criticizing his abilities, it's more of criticizing the execution here. So I do think that's something that I expect to be improved, especially then that there's been announced that Chris Fowler is getting back into the booth for College Football 26. He did post a thing on his Instagram story. Now, this could be as little as recording new lines for College Football 26, or, which I hope is going to happen, is he's re-recording more basic lines, re-recording a lot of his lines to put into the actual base game itself, so that it's just better commentary, which, I hope that they end up doing. But given it's EA, that's something that they wouldn't really do, because I know when they had Charles Davis and Brandon Gaudin, they would just have the same commentary team and just add on new lines, which I know is efficient, but it just definitely felt a little lazy not being able to update those things, and especially when the lines would just keep sounding the same year over year. So I do hope that EA kind of learns from the feedback, and hopefully Chris Fowler comes in and says, hey, I want to record those lines. I believe there was a story talking about how he did want to potentially re-record some of his lines, and again, I think he could do an incredible job. And again, this is his first time doing it, so I will, I hope, I'm gonna give EA an opportunity to right a wrong and hopefully fix it for the new upcoming game. So I expect this to be better. How much better, I'm not sure, but I do expect it to be better. Now, I do like the other crew. Like, having two crews, I think, is was a great feature, honestly. And I honestly think the normal broadcast crew is very awesome to have on. Like, I actually will listen to the broadcast, or I'll have the commentary on when I have Reese Davis and David Pollock and Jesse Palmer. And I think it's because Reese Davis has very high energy, and I think he does a really good job. Like, he's someone that traditionally isn't a play-by-play. He's done it before, but he was only really doing it for smaller games and stuff like that. He's more of like a host for these these big shows, but you could tell, like, he's a great voice actor. Like, he can really get in the booth and spit. So I think Reese Davis did a really good job, and that's why I think Chris Fowler could maybe learn from what Reese Davis did, and go from there. But really, what really sets apart these two crews is the color commentators. Now, Kirk Herbstreit, he's a very analytical and someone who is very knowledgeable about the game, and he's able to analyze things as it happens in real time, and within seconds is able to dissect how a play worked and why everything went the way it is, and he can draw on the screen and stuff. Now, a lot of this can't really be replicated to a video game. Again, they're basically turning these these professionals who are really good at analyzing to just voice actors. And at this point, it's ESPN, or sorry, it's EA Sports, the one that's basically writing all the lines for him. And I'm sure Kirk Herbstreit has some say in some of his lines, and I'm sure some of it is raw, like where it's just just him commentating over the game and they end up putting it in and stuff like that. But I do think it's EA Sports is the one that's instructing him to say these specific things. And I just feel like a lot of the times, like, Kirk Herbstreit's like lines and dialogue is just super basic. It's like, this tight end made a great play, and this is why he's really good, because he has the speed of a receiver but can block like an offensive tackle. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel really authentic to me. And this is where we go to the other team, the Jesse Palmer and David Pollock. They have like more nuanced discussions. Like, instead of talking about like each specific player in a play that's happening, they'll talk about why the Big Ten and SEC playing in a game like this is important to see who's going to be the more dominant conference. Like, stuff like that is, I love hearing that kind of stuff, because I'm hearing lines that I haven't heard, and I think I've put like 1,000 hours into this game. I'm still hearing lines that Jesse Palmer and David Pollock have said or saying for the first time. Like, these are completely unique lines, and I think it's mainly because they recorded those lines together. So you'll have Reese Davis, who I think recorded a bunch of his lines separately, and then you'll have Jesse Palmer and David Pollock basically talk back to each other, like having a normal conversation, and it makes the commentary feel very fluid. So I think having 3 people in the booth, where having 1 play-by-play and 2 color commentators might be the way to go. Now, I'm not sure how it would work to throw another person into the booth for Chris Fowler and Reese Davis, or Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit. I'm getting all these people mixed up, because they typically just have 2 people in the booth. Maybe having a sideline reporter potentially, where they could kind of talk back with Kirk Herbstreit. But I don't know. I think that's something that I think EA Sports should realize, that one of the commentary crews actually did a good job. And I'm not saying the other one did a bad job. I just think it's very, underwhelming. And I think most people have the commentary turned off for a reason. So I do think that's something that can be improved. Another thing I think people were disappointed with was the lack of ESPN presentation in the game. And personally, I don't think this is something that's going to come in College Football 26. And I don't really think it as a bad thing personally, just because the way that college football is just built nowadays, it's not all ESPN anymore. ESPN and Fox and CBS and NBC and streaming platforms all have a say in college football nowadays. And also, if you have ESPN, you have to pay for their license, and you also have to follow their rules. You basically lose a lot of creative control. And I also believe that under Chris Fowler's contract, that is, if they used ESPN's broadcast or licensing, whatever, I don't think Chris Fowler was allowed to commentate. I think that was something that he mentioned in one of the things when he was in Orlando talking with the media. He said that, you know, when they had the ESPN license, he couldn't do the commentary. So that's something that we would immediately lose. And I know some people say, well, Chris Fowler sucks anyways, but that's also losing all of that, you know, time and energy that they put into recording those initial lines. And I know some of the lines need to be re-recorded, but there's still some good stuff there. And also, it's confirmed that he's re-recording lines for College Football 26 anyways. So this basically confirms that ESPN is not going to be the broadcast partner, and it's going to probably stay with EA Sports. And I think EA Sports' presentation wasn't terrible, at least the broadcast package. Of course, there's some things I'm going to talk about why or how they can improve. And I know in the March Madness 10 video game, they actually had CBS and ESPN, which I think was way ahead of its time. I think was such a cool like concept to have multiple broadcast packages. And I know that I think 2K does that as well, or at least they have like different styles, and I think the show also does that. Now, College Football 25 does technically have a different broadcast style, and it's for the national championship where everything kind of has a gold theme. So everything that would have like a color is now gold, so it's black and gold for everything, which I think is a really cool touch, and I think they should definitely expand off of it. Now, one thing that EA could do to really make it feel a lot, you know, different is maybe do different score bugs, like maybe have a different score bug for the big game and have a different one for like a normal game, or just switch it up just a little bit. Like, I definitely think they should change up the scoreboard a little bit. They shouldn't use the same scoreboard year to year. I definitely think switching it up is a good idea. And, you know, you could also just mimic what an old broadcast team or broadcast package is using it. I mean, that's currently what Madden's doing. They basically are creating the ESPN, was it the Monday Night Football score bugs? That's basically what they've created. So I could totally see College Football 25 doing like a more Fox approach, or ESPN. I think the current score bug is like a good mix between ESPN and Fox, where it's, you know, has the, you know, the Fox is a lot more, I would say, a college theme, I guess, has like more school, like stickers and paper and that kind of theme, while ESPN is a little bit more, you know, basic. So I do think that the actual score bugs itself are okay. I hope they do update it, but not having ESPN presentation isn't really, you know, a deal breaker. The one thing that they do need to get updated, and that's definitely going to be the studio updates. And studio updates in College Bowl 25 is honestly terrible. Like, it's something that was probably done at the last second, and it was just something that they can at least put on paper that it's technically in the game, but it is so bare bones. Like, there's not even like a cutscene. It just shows like, or you just hear, like, I think Kevin Connors come on the mic and basically say, the game in Tallahassee is really good. They just took a lead. It is 7-0. Like, his voice is so robotic. Like, they need to get him to record a lot more lines, and they also need to do like the graphic that they would do in NCAA 14, where they basically pull up the scores. Like, you don't have to show the guy talking, you know, you don't have to render the guy. I'd rather you not do that. I'd rather you just show like a, you know, an animation where it shows the scores of games that are happening. And I think that would be a really cool process. And I think that would be a huge update to the overall presentation. And then lastly, I think this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. And also, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think presentation should be in College Football 26. And that is, I think there should just be more intros. And I think this is something that's absolutely going to be updated, because I think EA is already asking for new assets and new stuff to, you know, get more out of these, you know, introductions. And I think, you know, having maybe 2 or 3 for like the big schools would be cool, and to just rotate between them, because I know that's something that some people were mentioning, and that's same with me, is that like it's cool to look at it for the first time, you know, ever. Maybe if it's like a big game, you're like, yeah, I'll let the intro play out. But in the end, it's the same intro over and over and over again. Like, nothing changes at all. So it gets to a point where it's like, all right, I might as well just skip it and go straight into the game. So I think having you know, new intros for each team would be cool. And I think it's similar to, like, you know how like NCAA 14 had like their own, like, it was like they had like a hype video, every time, and it was like 3 different types. Now, I thought they were kind of cheesy, but I do think I like the way that they at least did 3 different types, so that you could have this one, or the trap one, or the country one. You know, I remember those like different kind of hype intro sequences. So now you should be able to do that in College Bowl 26, like have a few different intros. So I think that's gonna be it, guys. I think this is gonna be a little quick video talking about presentation in College Bowl 26. Again, let me know what your thoughts on how you think presentation could be improved. But that's gonna be it, guys. Hope y'all enjoy. Other than that, it's been Jagnal. I'll talk to you guys